Hello, this is Mike, NoStressMike.com. I want to talk about, and I've made a video before talking about the importance of BS. Just bullshitting, just and brainstorming, just throwing ideas out and see what happens. And I'm fixing to start on another project. But it made me start thinking about all the stuff that I've got myself into in the past. And this is what I want to talk about, is some of the stuff that either did turn into something or didn't turn into anything. I just want to talk about it. And it's no particular order. I've got it here on my other cell phone. I wrote everything down, and but I want to talk about this stuff. And the idea is, I want to let people know the importance of BSing, and like I say, all these, except for the restaurants, was just BSing, just brainstorming, and I'm sitting around talking to my friends. That's what I talk about. You're the average of your 5 best friends. That's why you need to surround yourself well. And I talk about I've been in business for myself all my life, and I've talked about my most of my friends have some kind of business. Some are big businesses, some are little businesses. It doesn't make any difference. And the reason is, in business, you learn to take responsibility. But anyway, let's see. I'll start with, first, I was born and raised in the restaurant business. So when I was a little kid, I was working in the restaurant, and I was the only one that could speak English, or most somewhat like that. There was others, but I knew. By working in a restaurant, I knew how to order food. I knew how to do all this stuff. So I would help other Chinese restaurants start up and do things. And so I already knew as a child how to do it. And then went to the, I guess another thing. I had a drive-in restaurant when I was 16 years old. And so I kind of, that was separate from the Chinese restaurants. And so that was my first taste. That's why I like kids working. They get a chance to experience things. And then in Vietnam, I did 18 months in the Marines, 13 months in Vietnam. And when I came back, I came back in 1969, and I could see how I was really more advanced in combat, I guess you'd say, than many at that age. And so I tried to start a SWAT team, Special Weapons and Tactics. And as far as I knew, I was going to be the first one. And the government came down on me when I was putting all this thing together. And come to find out, L.A. was starting one at the same time. But like I say, they were wondering how I would know that much stuff until they got to my military record. And so I tried to do that, and I was shut down. I couldn't make it work. Because like I say, I was making a private business out of it. And then another thing is like Blackwater. Security company. I tried to put all my marbles together and make something like that work. Not so much executive protection, but basically like Stillwater. But the hardest part was, we got to remember, at that time, I didn't have, my morals weren't too strong. Like I said, I just came back from Vietnam. So, but I could see how morals got involved in it, and so then something like a company like that just wouldn't fit into my moral character. So that didn't come through. And then I had oil wells. I've talked about that, oil wells and gas wells. And I made a video talking about, I say I'm not a rich man. I'm not. And money's never motivated me. And that's why I've talked about that's not the thing to get me going. So, but I say in the gas and oil field business, I started working on a drilling rig, and then I worked for people for free to learn how to hook all the wells up, and the whole everything about oil wells. And so you can do this stuff without the money. You just got to get in. You got to be able to talk. You got to be able to communicate with people, ask questions, have the enthusiasm to do things. And so that's what I did. Now, let's see. So there was that. Counter-terror. I've been in the counter-terrorist business, and it's different. What I do is individuals. I work with individuals, so it's a little bit different. Don't really want to go into that, but I say it is something that is it's very specialized, and one of the things was that kind of got me into it was I was getting into gold and silver because I had to learn how to bribe and learn how to communicate with people, and right back it's on the personal level. So it was a trick, and that kind of turned into the travel companion, and I still do that. I travel companion when people. Matter of fact, that's what I'm getting ready to do this next trip. But I go with people to different places of the world. Now, travel companion, flowers. I was going to get in this last time I was in China. I was looking into starting a flower business there, but that wasn't the first time. There was another time that I found somebody. I was younger, and I found an older person that owned a flower shop. And I'm not much on flowers. I mean, I'm not a flower kind of guy, but the business part, I thought it was neat. And they did dried flowers, and they shipped them all over the world. I mean, it was a cool business, but I needed help. And this is with a lot of things. In a lot of my businesses, I need help to make these things go. Either people with more knowledge than me, or the money. I didn't have enough money to make it, but there's all kinds of things. Talking about the money, one of the things was a farm and farming and ranching. When I was in the oil business, I had a lot of money. Now that's one exception in my life. That time I was making a lot of money. I was looking at starting a farm, and but I couldn't figure out how to make the numbers work on that kind of stuff. At that time I could get the loans and all this kind of stuff, but I just couldn't make it work. So, there's but I what you do is you and I've talked about making a business plan. You make a business plan, and then you got to BS. You got to brainstorm. You got to bullshit with people and try to find out if that business plan is a workable plan. So like I say, I did that, or I tried to do it, but I say I couldn't swing it. Another thing was real estate. I got into real estate. And that matter of fact, that was after I came back from Vietnam. I started getting into real estate, and one thing I didn't like in borrowing money. But I was borrowing money, and it wasn't my kind of work. That's not the kind of stuff that I enjoyed. So I pretty much got out of that. Let's see. Real estate, welding. When I was in the oil business, I tried to go in partners with people, and I want to do a welding shop, machine shop, and so now what's good about all these businesses, when I'm doing the research and I'm learning this stuff, some of them I do as a hobby, and some of them as I'm researching it. But I'm learning all the time, learning about this stuff. So I'm not completely ignorant in a lot of this stuff. Now, when the oil business went bad, and it was the same thing. I talked about that. The government, a lot of the government gets me out of a lot of businesses. I get businesses going, and government regulations or something to do with government really messes me up in most of the businesses that I get into. But so everything went bad, and I went to ice cream cakes. I started making ice cream cakes, and that really was good because we could make them in the house, and then we just started selling them in the local area. Just get a little rent a little building in a parking lot, and I was able to sell it out that. Now that was enough to pay the bills till I can get back on my feet again. And even at that, I ended up going to the gasoline business, gas station. I started pumping gas. And what was neat was the guy that owned the gas station, he'd come in and he'd park over in the back and he'd watch me. He was always shocked that I could make so much in tips. That and the gas station that I was working doubled on how many gallons of gas it sold. When I was working there, it sold twice as much. And I was getting paid by the gallon. So of course I needed money. So at that time, like I say, I was broke coming out of the oil business and making ice cream cakes, and so it started doing more. So you add these businesses all together, and I've always wanted a convenience store. I've always thought convenience stores are cool, and I've wanted them. And remember I talked about I shot the guy in the convenience store, and that was my cousin's convenience store, and he was trying to get me to buy him out. And so I was in the convenience store doing my research, learning more about convenience stores, how they work, and all this type of stuff. And that's when they came in to rob it, and that's how I got into the shooting in the convenience store. But anyway, this is just an example of some of the stuff that I've been in. And that's all. I just sit down and just start punching them out here on that. But there's been more that I've tried to get into and stuff like that. And I have got into it, but I couldn't really make money out of them. I made a hobby out of it instead. But I've accumulated all these skills, and I've looked for ways to use these skills. And just like I say, the bribing and giving gifts, I made videos talking about all this stuff. And that's what I'm getting ready to do now, is going to try to start an import-export business. And this is going to be a big thing. And what's going to make it really tough is now I'm going to be involving many people with many different skills, and they're going to be all over the world. So different languages are going to be involved. That's why I had somebody, when I was made a video about crossing the most dangerous crossing from borders. And they say, well, you're stupid, you're going to no place you don't speak the language. I've learned how to function without speaking the language. And now I'm going to be in multiple different places with multiple different languages, multiple different cultures, and trying to make things work. Now, is it going to work? Who knows? But it's fun trying to put it together. And I'm going to meet people. I'm going to meet a lot of people. I'm going to be needing a lot of help to make this thing happen. But anyway, I thought I would just share the idea of it's important to brainstorm, and it's important to bullshit, just to talk to people. If you don't have these skills, you need to get these skills going. They're going to help you in your life in bettering yourself no matter what. Even if you stay in the same field all the time, you need to be able to communicate to people. You need to be able to talk to them and make yourself an asset to others. This is Mike. NoStressMike.com.